Okay, now that we have established Tony's general predicament, let's get into the specifics of both of those versions and how they affect the project of building the Iron Man armor. Tales of Suspense, 1963. Again, we talked about that Vietnam was topical at the time. If they had set the 2008 movie in Vietnam, we probably aren't here today discussing the Iron Man armor, because the MCU probably would never have grown into what it is, and we would not have had this idea to have this podcast. So thank you, Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige, for figuring out we need to do this in a modern version in 2008 in Afghanistan instead of in Vietnam.
And that's one thing about us. We will give credit where credit is due.
Yes, very much
We're
so.
good people like that.
Yeah. I still can't believe that the Marvel people have not put out a T-shirt that says "In Feige We Trust." And for those of you who don't know, Kevin Feige is the producer of all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe output, and at the time, I think 2017, or 2018, he became the head of Marvel Television as well.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the Marvel Television stuff that preceded Disney Plus was under somebody else. It's now all under Kevin Feige. So he is sort of the master puppeteer of the Marvel Universe. And I think it rightfully so gets the lion's share of the credit for having the vision to create the MCU that we know today.
It's a 20-year roadmap. That's what the man's responsible for, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing it.
And something that had never been done before. Okay, so going back to 1963 in Vietnam, Tony is there with the U.S. military. In the book, it's not specified what exactly the mission is, but he's in country. He's with the U.S. military in the jungle. Weird, because if I was Tony, unless I, felt like I had to prove something to dudes in uniform that I'm masculine too, I'd be like, guys, I'm going to be back at the hotel sipping martinis, rapping to the ladies, and doing my thing. You go be cool, sweat it out in the jungle. I'll be here.
That's a really good point, because everything I know about Tony Stark's personality speaks to that, where he would just be like, yeah, if you need me, I'll be over here. I'll be doing like the intellectual things. I'm going to go talk to the hotties, and you come back, come see me when you need me. That kind of situation. I never even thought about that.
And it also, I think, speaks a little bit to the different representation of the American capitalist in 1963 as opposed to 2008, where in 1963 he's patriotic, he's gung-ho, he's there with the people he's building the technology for to support their war effort in Vietnam. He does. We'll get into this more with the 2008 movie, but he's also in country there with the military, but for a little bit different reason. He's selling something.
Yes.
At that
Okay,
point.
okay.
But yes, the idea that this wealthy beyond any measurement industrialist would actually be boots on the ground in Vietnam with the boys in uniform.
Yeah.
It's a little absurd.
Yeah, I agree.
It is strange.
Yes.
But maybe this actually goes back to him being like, oh, I need to be more likable and more relatable. Like I think, Carl, you were saying. It's like, oh, look, I'm one of the guys. I can hang too, even though I'm fabulously wealthy and I can have whatever I want.
And
Chill.
they do, another one of the contrasts between comic book Tony Stark and movie Tony Stark is movie Tony Stark really leans into, and I think Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau being the director of the movie, I think they've both used this terminology in interviews, likable asshole.
Yeah.
They really lean into the likable asshole part of Tony, whereas in the comic books, it's more... He's the guy every guy wants to be. He's the man every woman wants to be with, kind of character, but less of a dick.
Yep.
Okay.
Or certainly not in early days expressing that part of himself.
Okay.
So he's in Vietnam. Trips a booby trap set by
Viet Cong.
I'm looking for a name.
Oh.
Go back to episode 1.
Oh,
Wong Chu.
There.
Ding, ding, ding.
Zaheen gets the no prize. No prize was something that Stan Lee developed conceptually to respond to readers, the pedantic nerds that we love.
So are you saying that Stan Lee was the first recorded troll? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think he was responding to all the trolls that would write in letters to the editor and say, I noticed in panel 2 on page 5 that it was cerulean blue that you used for the costume, whereas on page 6 it was more of a cobalt.
Yeah.
So Stanley would give out a no prize in those situations, and Zaheen claims the first no prize of the Manufictioners Club.
Congratulations.
You know what? I'm honored. I'd like to thank Sean and Carl, without whom I would never be able to. I would have never gone here.
You're welcome.
And which maybe your family, God, anybody else?
No.
Okay.
Done.
No.
She's
No.
like, done.
There's no one else I can credit with that. So
She is a woman who stands on her own, and that's what I really like about her.
what they call independent.
Yes. Kind of like that Destiny's Child song.
Exactly
All
like
the-
that.
all
That's
ladies
exactly what I was
independent?
thinking. That's what
Exa-
exactly
I
what
was about to
thinking.
start singing it, and
That's
I was like,
exactly
oh,
what I
you
was
know.
thinking.
This is why we're in the room together.
This is it. This is
We
it.
get it. So Tony trips the Wong Chu devised booby trap, and in doing so, explodes a mine, which delivers shrapnel. This is another interesting point. It only gets the shrapnel into his chest. They don't really show that it goes anywhere else, which is extraordinarily well directed.
Which gives
Homing
credit.
shrapnel.
story.
Homing shrapnel.
Which gives credit to Wong Chu's genius. Apparently, he made directional shrapnel. Exactly.
That's wow. What a genius.
Yeah. Right.
So, in episode 1, we sort of put Wong Chu a little bit. What's the term from Dirty Dancing? Nobody puts baby in a closet. We put Wong Chu in a closet a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, I did.
And
it's
like,
me.
And I was like, my guy, I think we.
It's not we. It's me. I'll fall on that sword.
Okay.
So anyway, Wong Chu's brilliant mind with its homing shrapnel lodges its shrapnel in Tony's chest. And this is another interesting thing. It's in both the comic book and the movie. Is the shrapnel's working its way toward his heart?
So it moves on its own as well.
It's burrowing shrapnel.
It's not just homing; it tunnels as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's wild. I have nothing to
It
say
is.
other than that's wild.
It is.
And to think in the comic books, Wong Chu mostly spent his time wrestling people. That was his thing. He was a big dude and he wrestled people.
That's untapped potential.
But he moonlighted as a creator.
as a military technologist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Tony got this shrapnel burrowing its way toward his heart, and fortunately for Tony, like we talked about in episode 1, it just so happens, crazy coincidence, Wong Chu's manservant is none other than Ho Yin-sen, got that finally, who, as luck would have it, is a Nobel Prize-winning physicist who builds a electromagnet for Tony's chest that prevents the shrapnel from advancing further to his heart, keeping Tony alive.
Of course.
What's that called? Isn't something like that called I don't know how to pronounce it. Deus ex
Deus ex machina?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Or Deus ex machina.
I think, yeah, Deus.
Oh,
It's
it's,
got-
it's
it's
true.
got
It is Latin.
Yes.
God in the machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
What we in a modern context might call a plot device.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Very contrived.
Ho Yin-sen really exists just to keep Tony alive in Tales of Suspense number 39 and become a second set of hands to build the Iron Man armor, which we will divulge into further in episode 4 and 5. So Tony is kept alive by this electromagnet in his chest, but it's a temporary solution. Got to come up with something more permanent.
Yep.
So in the interim, Wong Chu is told, oh, by the way, that Anglo guy that we picked up in the jungle, and took no other prisoners, just him. Weird. Guess everyone else, all the soldiers got killed.
Maybe he wasn't that confident in his shrapnel, that his shrapnel would actually get to his heart. Maybe he suffered some self-confidence issues.
And we all do from time to time.
Maybe he needed to talk about it with someone.
Oh, and then now we're really expanding the character of Wong Chu. Why we just made Wong Chu a little emo.
He just needed a friend. He just wanted a hug.
Sometimes I'm
Why do you
just
think he was
not
wrestling?
secure in my status as a warlord. I wake up in the morning, I put my pajamas on just like everybody else, but I have to command this army.
Yeah,
It's difficult.
Imagine the burden. Imagine the burden. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say.
And in the multiverse of us, there are variants of each one of us that are warlords.
Oh, geez, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd make a very good warlord.
Soak in that bath for a few minutes.
That'd be a rough one.
So leaving aside Wang Chu's emotional needs for the time being, Tony needs a more permanent solution to this issue.
Yep.
So he and Ho Yin Sen, again, it's helpful when you're trying to build technology that you've got a nuclear physicist whose ego is such that, oh, you just need my help? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Though
That
we
is
did
crucial.
talk about in episode 1 that my opinion is Ho was always thinking he's getting out of this situation.
Yep.
So he's like, yes, I will help you, and I will. It's almost like that Sun Tzu, art of war sort of approach where I'm going to let you think you're in charge, but I'm actually going to get out of here on my own
Yep.
with your help. You'll get out with my help, but I'm going to get out with your help as well.
And how wrong he was.
Well, let's save the sad tale for Ho Yin Sen for a couple minutes because we already did the spoiler alert in episode 1.
Wee woo, wee woo. I'll do it again. I'm sorry, guys. I'll get better at doing it before the spoiler.
Personally, I love that the alarm comes afterwards.
Retrospective spoiler.
Retrospective spoiler.
We don't want to do things the same way everyone else has been doing it for years, do we?
That's a good point. We are unique. We're individuals.
We're blazing a
collectively.
path here. Blazing a path that leads to spoiler alerts coming after the spoiler has already been delivered.
Hey, no different than people on the BQE or the Belt Parkway who put on their turn signal after they cut in front of you. Right?
Those are not the only places that happen.
That's
I
true,
assure you.
but
I can't even make a joke about that. That just got my blood boiling.
there it is. It's too real. It's too real. I'll
too
take
real,
it
too
back.
real.
I'll take it back.
And for anyone that didn't think road rage could happen in a podcast studio,
You just saw it.
Just
It
happened. Just happened.
I'm calming myself down still. I'm doing my breathing exercises. Give me a second.
Woosah, woosah, woosah.
All right. We have Vietnam Tony Stark covered.
Yep.
And it's the same basic template for the movie in 2008. But let's hydrate. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what's different and get into a little bit of how those differences play out in determining what Tony's needs are.
Yep.
Perfect.
Right back.